So hi everyone, I'm Herman Aton. So now I will discuss the demand and supply. Demand is a representation of a consumer desire to purchase goods and service. Supply is the total amount of a particular good and service available at a given time to consumer. Supply and demands are both very important to economic activity. Demand is an economic principle referring to a consumer's desire to purchase goods and services, and willingness to pay a price for a specific good and service. Demand can mean either market demand for a specific good or aggregate demand for the total of all goods in an economy. Demand along with supply determines the actual prices of goods and the volume of goods that changes hand in a market. Demand is closely related to supply, where consumers try to pay at the lowest prices they can for goods and services. Suppliers try to maximize profits. If suppliers charge too much, the quantity demanded drops, and suppliers do not sell enough product to earn sufficient profits. If suppliers charge too little, the quantity demanded increases, but lower prices may not cover suppliers' costs or allow for profits. The relations between supply and demands. If demands is the quantity consumers are willing to buy at a given price, supply is a quantity producers are willing to offer. The price of goods and services is determined by the supply in the market and the demand for it. When the supply is low and the demand is high, the price will increase. When supply is high and the demand is low, the price will decrease. The equilibrium price is the price where the quantity consumers purchase equals the quantity producers supply. Types of demands. As a business, you need to understand the different types of demands to be able to best anticipate how much product you need. We have joint demand, composite demand, short run and long run demand, price demand, income demand, competitive demand, direct and derived demand. Joint demand is the demand for complementary product and services. These can be products that are accessories for other or that people commonly purchase together. For example, cereal and milk or peanut butter and jelly. The two are linked, but demand for one is not necessarily dependent on the demand for the others. Composite demand. Composite demand happens when there are multiple uses for a single product. For example, corn can be used as animal feed, ethanol and food in its whole form. The rise in demand for any of these products leads to a shortage in supply for the others. This shortage can lead to a rise in price. Short run and long run demand. Short run demands differ how people will immediately react to price changes where elements are fixed. For example, if the demands for a product drastically decrease and a manufacturer has high overhead costs, they have no choice but to absorb the profit loss. The long run. Companies have a chance to adjust to the new situations by decreasing labor or increasing price and supplies. Price demand relates to the amount of a consumer is willing to spend on a product and a given price. Businesses use this information to determine at what price point a new product should enter the market. Consumers will buy items based on their perceptions of the product's value. Price elasticity refers to how the demands will change with fluctuations in price. Income demand. As consumers make more income, quantity demand increases. This means people will buy more overall when they earn more income. Tastes and expectations also change with an increase in income, reducing the size of one market and increasing the size of another. Competitive demands occurs when there are alternative services or products a consumer can choose from. From a business's perspective, they can use fluctuations in the price of their competitors to determine how their own will sell. An example of this is between name brand and store brand medicine. If a consumer prefers a name brand but it is out of stock or the price increases significantly, the store brand will see a rise in sale. So we have a direct and derived demand. Direct demand is the demand for the final good. Food, clothing, and cell phones are an example of this, also called autonomous demand. Is independent of the demand for other products. Derived demand is the demand for a product that comes from the usage of others. For example, the demand for pencil will result in the demands for woods, graphite, paint, and eraser materials. In this example, the demand for woods is dependent on the demand for its uses. Okay, let's proceed the supply. Supply is a fundamental economic concept that describes the total amount of a specific goods or service that is available to consumers. Supply can relate to the amount available at a specific price or the amount available across a range of prices if displayed on a graph. Supply and demand trends form the basis of the modern economy. Each specific good and service will have its own supply and demands, patterns based on price, utility, and personal preference. If people demand a good and are willing to pay more for it, producer will add to the supply. History of supply. Supply in economics and finance is often, if not always, associated with demands. The law of supply and demands is a fundamental and foundational principle of economics. The law of supply and demands is a theory that describes how supply of a good and demand for it interact. And quantity supplied. The quantity supplied is the amount of good or service that is made available for sale at given price point. The quantity supply differs from the total supplies and is usually sensitive to price. At higher prices, the quantity supplied will be close to the total supply. At lower prices, the quantity supply will be much less than the total supply. The quantity supply can be influenced by many factors, including the elasticity of supply and demand, government regulations, and changes in input costs. So that will be my topics. Thank you.